Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
Hello, friends and family. Welcome on in. Thank you for joining me as we sit here to break down a 48-22 ass whooping. Now, I have the Sixers on in the studio right next to me here, and I hope they don't break my heart. But I do know that the Eagles won't, because that's what happens when you have the MVP on your team. That's what happens when your offensive line dominates. That's what happens when Miles Sanders has a beauty, and he runs for 144 yards, and he punches it into the end zone a few times. This game was wrapped up right from the first series when I saw Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick tell Daniel Jones this is going to be a long night, getting into his face. And then the Eagles offense takes the ball right after that possession and goes, watch what I can do, as they methodically move downfield. They use every single damn weapon they had on their roster at that point. You're talking about going to tight end. Alcantara's out there getting a couple catches. They're just distributing the ball throughout the entire field. There was a flag on the play where Devontae Smith had hands in the face, but that type of stuff happens. You just keep plugging away, and they just executed perfectly, going 14 plays, over 8 minutes, 7-0, and a huge third down throw by your quarterback, Jalen Hurts, to the outside, to the sidelines there, as Devontae Smith makes a nice grab. So many crucial third downs in those early stages, in those early drives, which just helped the Eagles make a huge push and go up 21-0. There was a video that's surfacing all around social media of Quez Watkins, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith on the sideline, on the bench, celebrating, pretending to throw money up in the air, and Jalen Hurts is sitting there all business. There's nothing better. This dude is just filled with confidence, oozes swag, and that's why he's in the position that he's in right now. The throw to Devontae Smith on 4th and long, and the boss by Nick Sirianni to say, we're going to go for it. Well, look, you're in that weird spot of the field. You're in a very awkward spot, so I get it. But at the time, I saw people a little bit upset. Why would you do that? Why not pin them back or something along those lines? Because, you know, your defense is playing with a ton of energy, and you trust the way that they could ball and the way TJ Edwards is in the face making tackles. Marcus Epps is reading perfectly. Bang, meets you as soon as you get the football in the flat, hard-nosed, tough football. Reddick getting some outs. What's the word I'm looking for here? Making sure that you force Daniel Jones to go to a certain side in the pocket as he's trying to escape. Here's Fletcher Cox just throwing him to the ground. Brandon Graham looks like he's 26. It's outrageous what they do. But I'm like, you got the best offense in football. You have the MVP of the league. If you don't trust them to go for it on 4th and 7 at that time, then what the hell are you doing? And then, of course, you know, they executed Devontae with a beauty. It was ridiculous. 3rd and 6, Hurts runs it with his legs. 3rd and 3, he hits Quez Watkins going to the sidelines. It might not be the flashiest play in the world, but it's the difference, and it separates you from other teams. This is why you're 12-1, because you're consistently hitting those throws on target. You're consistently putting the ball in an area where, look, if there is good coverage and the cornerback is playing excellent, who cares? Who cares? Because Jalen Hurts is putting it where it needs to go. And during that second drive, there were a couple drops. A.J. Brown had a drop over the middle. Devontae had a drop that I thought he should have absolutely made. So while facing some adversity and shooting yourself in the foot, you still go 91 yards in 12 plays, and on a 4th and 7, you gamble, and it comes up big. Incredible. This football team is incredible. And while we knew they were good because they were doing some serious things throughout the regular season to start the season off, they're starting to hit their stride at the right time. After that loss against Washington, what was the narrative? Derrick Henry, Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. Excuse me, what? Who? Irrelevant. Barkley ended up having a neck injury during the practice week this week and all, so whatever. A healthy night, it doesn't matter. I don't think that that's a difference maker at all because as this team has shown, throw anybody your way. The loss to the Commanders, you can't constantly do that if you're the other team. Oh, the blueprint's out. The blueprint's not out because there's no way a team is going to be able to run that many plays against the Eagles. The offense was poor that day. The offense is not going to be poor very often. And by the way, they're doing this without Dallas Goedert. Just wait for how it looks when you have one of the best tight ends in the game back on the field as Avonte Maddox makes his return. Now, guys got injured. Your punter, oh my Lord. The punt gets blocked, which is a special teams error once again, and that's a disaster. And a Boston Scott 66-yard return isn't enough for me to start feeling good about the special teams unit. That is the Achilles heel of this team. Now, there's so much great going on that I'm not going to start screaming that, I'm going to lose my damn mind because you put up 48 points. Your defense kills teams. Quarterbacks don't feel comfortable whatsoever, and you're getting pounded into the turf. But there's an area there that is concerning me. I just don't think it's going to automatically get better. But how about Sipas? He gets the football, he takes it a couple yards, and then, unfortunately, he gets all banged up. You had to switch around everything. Covey's no longer returning punts. He's holding it for Jake Elliott. Things got all sorts of crazy out there. Who else ended up getting banged up? Oh, Blankenship got carted off. That's a major loss. That's a huge loss. The kid has been playing with some buzz. The kid has been playing with some energy. So keep your eyes out there. So you are getting nicked up while you're finally starting to get guys back, as we saw last week with Jordan Davis, then Avonte Maddox. But now the punter's an issue. Howie Roseman is going to have to do some things for sure. But it was just a crazy-ass game, right? Think about it. The Giants, their punter, the ball drops on the ground. He tries to kick it anyway. And then with one play, you hit A.J. Brown, who goes into the end zone. Now you're up 21-0. And I'll give the Eagles a lot of credit here because let's be honest, when it got to the second half and you saw the Giants finally put a drive together and the score became 27-14, I'm sure there was, here we go again. I'm sure there was, here's Jonathan Gannon doing the standard Jonathan Gannon, allowing a team that has no business of being involved back into the action. Eagles? Between Sanders and Hurts and the offensive line and running the football and making some plays. Shut it down. We're not doing this. Trust me. It's not going to be what you think. Put it to rest. Put it to bed. And your offense just responded with putting some points in the end zone and kind of doing their thing from there. So just awesome, man. This team, I think they're starting to really take control, and they look extremely dominant everywhere. And it starts in your trenches. Your offensive line, this is no knock to Miles Sanders because 1,000 yards with still a lot of football to be played, finally healthy. We've always been annoyed with the fact that there's been lingering issues. A hamstring here has limited him. A hamstring there has limited him. Hell, he barely was involved in camp because he was sidelined and they were nursing an injury. We're going, what the hell is happening? When are we going to see the Miles Sanders that we thought we were going to get coming out of Penn State with the high draft pick? He's been incredible, and he's going to get a fat bag. He's going to get a heavy paycheck. It ain't going to be here, and it shouldn't be here. I'm not trying to downplay what he's done because he's a hard runner. And hell, I even think lately there's been some things in the passing game over the last couple of weeks where I'm like, okay, noted. Now, it's not always been perfect. I wanted to get a replay on what happened on the right sideline there. Did he get his feet in? Did he not get his feet in? Did he bobble the ball? I didn't see anything. Nothing at all. The replay, how do you not even show a replay on the broadcast of a play that explosive? They didn't. But the last few weeks, I'm like, hold on a second. They've been implementing a little, how do you do here? How do the passing? It just feels, I'm just talking all about gut feel, a little more than what I remember or what I kind of think about when thinking about this team previously. Seems like it's creeping in a bit more. Let's see. Who knows? Maybe I mention this, and then over the next 2 games, we go, aha, Broads, you're right. People don't say that enough. That's all. Someone tweeted at me this morning, actually, saying they found one of my old YouTube videos from 3 years ago about the Flyers and one of their draft picks, Cam York, and I was screaming that they should have drafted Cole Caulfield because he's going to be a special goal scorer, and they said, Broads, you nailed it. Stop. I'm flattered. Come on. We could be here all day if you want to play that game. Okay? People are saying they showed the replay. I didn't see a replay. And I know a lot of the beat reporters were bitching, too, that they didn't see anything either in the press box, or they didn't see anything in where they were watching. Or maybe it was Les Bowen, who I don't think is in the press box anymore. But I know I didn't see it unless I blinked and then they showed it. Regardless, though, remember when we watched them play in 2017 against the Carolina Panthers and you knew? You're like, whoa, hold on a second. Short week, Thursday night football. They exploded. This team's scary. We're past that. Then they played Denver. And you went, oh yeah. Right? Oh, my goodness. Welcome. Because we are in the same exact position right now as I was when you watched them play Denver. There's no sugarcoating it. They're not that good. The team doesn't play anyone. Minnesota lost to the Lions. The Dallas Cowboys, talk about being tight in some areas. Because that Houston Texans team, it's a shame. It's a shame they suck as much as they suck. You can make the argument that they wanted to lose. And they probably thought it was the best for their organization anyway, so they said, hey, let them have it. I don't know. And look, it's fair to say this. The Dallas Cowboys smacked Minnesota around, and then they also have a game against the Texans. The Eagles had a bad loss against the Commanders. They had some tight wins where against the Indianapolis Colts, they didn't play a very good game offensively. Their defense held them in. Then Jalen Hurts takes you for a ride and wins you the game. But why do I feel so differently about the Eagles compared to the Dallas Cowboys outside of me just caring way more about the Eagles? Jalen Hurts. Dak Prescott with an ugly turnover. Let's go back and look at Jalen Hurts and his ability to keep the football in the possession of the offense. There's been a couple times interceptions. Other than that, he doesn't throw them. He doesn't lose the football. And when he does, it's rare. That's why this team excels. And when that happens, you're seeing 8-minute drives. You're seeing 14-play drives. You're seeing 12-play drives. You're watching them expose the New York Giants defense. They struggle. Let's move the ball around. Let's spread them out. Let's go to Alcantara. Let's go to anybody. Doesn't matter. Let's find our guys. I'm fascinated to see what the injury report's like. I know that Lane Johnson had some sort of ab injury, and he said if the game was closer in the fourth inning, in the fourth inning. I'm sorry, I'm thinking about Trey Turner. In the fourth quarter, and if it was closer, he would have played. All right, maybe. I trust him when he says that, but I'm just curious. They also alluded to having to see what happens as he gets tested, though, over the next couple of days. So something to monitor. I'm not hitting the panic button. I'm just bringing it up. I know Quez Watkins was a bit banged up on a deep shot, on a deep throw. As he fell afterwards, Devontae took a hard one, too, where he went up in the air. I thought, now, this one was a very difficult play. I don't label this a drop. I just think that this is a very tough play to make in football. But the way that he went up, there was 1-on-1 in the with the corner, and the way he landed on his back, he got up there. He elevated. He absolutely sprung up in the air. And the ball, he was just a little bit to the right. The ball was to his left. His hands was a bit to the right. I thought it was like, whoa, it would have been a very impressive play, but he took a hard fall to the ground there, even though he did some fantastic things after that. It wasn't an injury scare or anything. I'm just bringing it up to you because I remember that play specifically. So much in Jalen Hurts' game pre-snap. Hearing teammates talk about what he sees man-to-man coverage. You fool. He's so smart. Extremely intelligent. He sees things before it even happens. Wasn't the case last year. This team just clinched a playoff spot. While you have Diggs of the Dallas Cowboys tweeting that he wants statistically to get the interception on that final Hail Mary play, that's what he's focused on. The Eagles go, oh, it's nice. Super Bowl. Clinching the playoffs. It's awesome, the fact that they did it this early in the season, and it's magnificent. One team's focused on individual statistics. The other team goes, cute. Chicago Bears on Sunday. So, what's that? We made the playoffs? It's not our goal. I loved watching Nick Sirianni on the sidelines, and I've been critical of him being a goofball, right? All fun and games, but I've been critical of him. When that 4th and 7 converted, and Devontae, that ball was, talk about being placed in a spot. You want to complain about what New York did there and love and all that, whatever, sure. Trust me, sure, fair play. But man, Nick Sirianni running down the sidelines, risk reward. That's what it's all about on 4th downs, especially 4th and 7. Risk and reward. You got the reward, baby. And damn it, did it taste good. I want to take your calls. I want to listen to the fan reaction of what was a 48-22 win. Here's the positive, Stable. If Daboll wants to look at the positives and bring his team in to talk about the film study, they didn't score 50. Can we get a round of applause? The Eagles didn't score 50. As Daniel Jones is getting kicked in the teeth. Brandon Graham. BG. BG's numbers, and he's playing less snaps. Right, an older guy, rotation, you got a heavy amount of people. BG getting some numbers. Hassan Reddick doing some things that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, like forcing the quarterback to take a certain lane. And speaking of quarterbacks in certain lanes, when Jalen Hurts, there was some very massive creativity, too. The one little play to Miles Sanders, I believe that was 3rd and short. Maybe was it 3rd and 1 or so? I think the broadcast at the time was talking about maybe sneaking it. Like, these games are so not competitive that honestly, it's like, is that what it was? Like, when a game is close and it's hard and it's the 4th quarter and it's super close, you don't forget these level of details. When you're up 96 and your dog has a piece of fuzz hanging out of her ass, and that's what you're trying to make sure she gets out of her ass. Like, it's like, was it the 3rd and 1? Was it the 3rd and short? Was that the little play to Miles Sanders? I don't even remember. I had other things on my mind at the time. That's how much this Eagles team rocks. Rocks. That was rocks, in case that sounded like anything else. Where was I there? Yes. Speaking of quarterbacks running, when there's a play for Jalen Hurts to take it himself, and there was a design in there for him to snap the ball out of shotgun, and then he just takes off, whether he sees something himself and goes, hey, I'm in love. That's all. I'm just in love with that stuff. Best quarterback I've seen. Was that too far? Well, Tom Brady's throwing too many interceptions. You know? So, whatever. Let's take some calls.
12-1, baby. Feels so great. Love this team. Love watching them. Cannot wait to see how anybody tries to spin this win this week as anything less than it was. If anybody at all is saying that the Eagles are anything less than the number one candidate for the Super Bowl this year, they're out of their minds. Who else are you going to pick? There's no one else. Every other team that you talk about. Cowboys almost choked to the Texans today. You know, that's a huge slip. They come out with the win, but I mean, come on.
there is other teams that I'm always going to be afraid of. I love the Eagles. I think the Eagles are the most complete team. You throw the football for 200 plus. You run the football for 200 plus. If you're a defense going up against this offensive line, which teams don't have, I've been screaming this for years into this damn microphone. We are spoiled with offensive line play. When you look around the league, it ain't this. This is unbelievable. So when you're a defense, what do you take away? And knowing that it's not a traditional running game. If you have a pocket passing quarterback, which Jalen Hurts can stand in the pocket. I saw at times, here's New York, and this is earlier in the game. Here's some pressure, and he's standing in the pocket, makes the throw to Quez Watkins, still makes it perfect, beautiful. He's not afraid to do that. He can do everything. That's what's beautiful about it. But this isn't a traditional under center, let's run the football, hand it off, because Jalen Hurts can kill you too. When he's got the football in his hands and there's an option involved. So there's so many layers. Which way do you go? Stop Sanders and Hurts when the offensive line is pushing you back and Jason Kelsey's getting to the second level and these gaps are major and these gaps are huge? Good luck. And if you think that works, well, then we'll pass it to A.J. Brown. Pass it to Devontae Smith. Pass it to Quez Watkins. Pass it to any tight end that's in the game. Good luck. There are still a couple teams, though, that because Pat Mahomes, why do I feel good about the Eagles? Quarterback play. Without that, I'm not feeling as sharp. Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, the combination of two, will always scare me. That doesn't mean I don't think the Eagles can beat every team in the NFL, because I do feel that way. There's a difference when the sport is a one-game playoff compared to a 7-game series. In a 7-game series, the better team, most of the time, will find a way to battle through. When the one-gamer, you could play the Chiefs 10 times, and it'd be 5-5. It could be 6-4 in favor of the Eagles. But because you only play that one game, if it happens to be one of those games where the Chiefs do win one of those four, well, I'm just saying. All I'm saying is quarterback play, elite talent in this league. I'm with you. Eagles should be number one right now. Number one. Over the Chiefs? Over the Bills? Over any of these unbelievable teams? I'm just saying, it doesn't mean I'm not afraid of Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes. I'm still going to be afraid of him. To a level. I think we have a lot. But he does things that don't make sense. So does Jalen Hurts, though. That's what makes it appealing. How about that? Sixers are making a nice run here in the second quarter. They're up 42-33 at this second. We'll see if this ages well or not.
Birds, not going to lie, I was not expecting us to beat them by 26. And one of those touchdowns, we gave them the ball at the 13-yard line. Wild. Now, it's not looking like Blankenship or Zip-Balls are going to be back, so, I'm not really worried about Zip-Balls. We can replace a punter. We can get a new punter. But I'm worried at safety. Wallace is absolute garbage. He got burnt so many times today. We need someone. We can't have Kayvon Wallace be our starting safety versus the Cowboys in 2 weeks. But the offense kept on rolling.
Well, there's not much you can do at this point. We do have to realize that your options are very limited when it comes to acquiring talent at this time. I'm with you, though. Kayvon Wallace, and I was one of those that said, cool the Jets, because he was dealt a poor card since there was once a safety in this town that went to Clemson. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him. I don't know if you guys know who Brian Dawkins is. I heard he was pretty good. But because of the similar position and the similar school and all, it's like, hold on a second. Seems like a steal. I said, cool the Jets. Now, at the same time, him sticking around as long as he has, he's been here for a couple years now, right? For him to not be growing at all, and for him to not be any sort of impact at all, I don't like it. But yeah, I mean, this, I don't know. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, when is he supposed to come off the injury? Because you mentioned, the Dallas Cowboys in a couple weeks? Should he be back by then? I think he should be. Maybe my math is wrong. I know it was Avonte Maddox, it was Jordan Davis, then it was Maddox, then it was, come on, Dallas Goedert. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to look at the timeline on when he actually went on the IR. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure I could look it up a little bit easier than I'm trying to right now. Maybe somebody in the chat. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, IR. What was the date that he went on the IR? Eagles activate Jordan Davis, put C.J. Gardner-Johnson on IR. This was 1 week ago. So 1 week, 2 weeks. Regardless on when it actually is, and I'm sure I could do a better job if I wasn't so lazy at this time, he'll be back before the playoffs. And you say, well, the Dallas game. I ain't worried. I ain't worried about Dallas. I ain't worried about nothing. Because the way this Eagles team is focused and the way this Eagles team is preparing and the way that this Eagles team is playing right now, I ain't worried about it. I ain't worried about it. Yeah, sure, that one game on Christmas Eve is clearly going to have high stakes, and we're going to be very emotional about it because we hate them. They claim they don't care about us. Yet a few weeks ago or a week ago or so, they were chanting the Eagles when they were leaving their stadium because they wanted to face us. Whatever it is, I don't care. Because I'm not afraid that the Eagles are going to lose their position on being the number one seed in the NFC. I'm not worried about the NFC East. This team has shown me enough. So if that injury is what it is, and Kayvon Wallace, it is what it is, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson's back whenever it is off the IR, fine. Fine. I ain't worried about it. I ain't going to waste my energy. The Dallas Cowboys don't deserve that level of fear. You're giving them too much. You're giving them too much praise and too much support. You're giving them too much emotion. Come on now. I ain't afraid of Dak Prescott. And at one point, I thought he'd be better. At one point, I thought by this time in his career, he'd be an unreal weapon. With the way this defense gets to the QB, with the way this defense can get some sacks, with the way this defense and this defensive front is mean and brutal. That dude's face is going to be face planted in the dirt and the turf. He's going to eat it. I ain't worried. Regardless of what happens in that game, I'm talking about from now until the end of the regular season, the Eagles are going to be where we expect them to be. Regardless on whatever happens on that given day, whatever it is, even though I expect the Eagles to kick ass. So I won't let them to live in my head the way that caller just brought it up. That's how I'm looking at it.
Now, that game was borderline excessive abuse. What are they going to say now, Hunter? That we still haven't played anybody, that we're lucky, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? You know, just keep winning. I mean, what an impressive win. After the bad taste to go into the Meadowlands last year with the Rager drop at the goal line, to not only beat them on the scoreboard, but to beat their ass up and down that field, it was great. I enjoyed it. Again, the only things that worry me, the injuries. It looked like Watkins re-aggravated the shoulder and Blankenship with a knee. Anytime you see a player in a knee injury, most likely it's not good. But you get another win. If Houston didn't gag today, what a perfect day this would have been.
I don't disagree with you there. It would have been a lot better if that was the case, but you know, the Houston Texans will eventually be the Houston Texans. It's funny, right? Because before the game began, and all week long leading up to it, the question was, would Jalen Hurts remember what happened last time he played in this stadium? Worst performance, so many interceptions. And my answer was, of course. That's what makes Jalen Hurts Jalen Hurts. He says it all the time. He knows what people have said about him leading up to this point in his career. He knows they were doubters. There's ways to use that in a healthy way where it doesn't take up all of your head space and it doesn't take up all of what you think about on the daily, but you got to use it to your advantage to motivate you. And then, of course, we hear and find out that Nick Sirianni used the picture of him and Jordan Mailata from that game as inspiration as they kind of look for something interesting each week to be a part of that message. Of course he was, especially knowing James Bradberry was going to go through the same level of emotion that A.J. Brown did the week before against the Tennessee Titans. And then they start off with the big 21-0 lead, going back to what was happening on the sidelines there on the bench with Jalen Hurts locked in like a dude I've never seen before. That is just the perfect description of who Jalen Hurts is. I've never seen anyone so cool and calm like that. It's impressive. It's impressive. So I'm still trying to find ways to find when he's allowed to come off the IR. And I'm doing a very poor job, even though it should be very easy to do. Because this happened against what? The Packers? So if it happened against the Packers, I can't believe I'm doing this. As if I can't just easily find it. I'm a bad person. And I'll probably screw this up. Titans, Giants, Bears. Is it after the Cowboys game? If it's the 4 weeks? If it happened with the Packers? So Titans, Giants, Bears, Cowboys, and then you have the Saints and the Giants. Is that maybe when he's allowed? I may be off on that. But, yeah, it's something that I'm looking at for sure. What's going to happen with Blankenship now being out and whatnot. It looks like as he gets carted off. But there's too much on this team. Too much on this team. Something I'm noting. Too much on this team, though. It would be doing the rest of the crew a disservice. We'll be all right, I promise. We'll be all right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. You're the greatest. I'll catch you on the next one.